me this. What would you say is the biggest benefit for a company if they are going to work with a business broker? Because people might say, oh, I can figure it out. I
Yeah,
can go look at what business might be for sale and,
that's right.
figure it out. Or if I'm going to sell my business, I can just
Mhm.
ask in my network. I don't need to, hire a
Right.
business broker to do that. But what would you say is the biggest benefit of having someone
That's
like
a
you?
great question. I'm happy to have this opportunity to speak about that.
I'm so glad
Sometimes
you
we get a bad rap, honestly. Like I've met people who were like, "Oh, you're a business broker." And it's almost like the greasy car salesman comparison. And I'm like, "No,
really.
yes, this
Wow.
has happened." And so I feel like with everything, there's always going to be those outliers, good or bad. So it's what it is. And yes, in theory, you could absolutely buy a business on your own and even try to sell it. But it's like, why would you if that's not your
Right.
specialty? Why would you want to
Right.
do that? So even when it
Mhm.
comes to the seller, I guess the best answer that I would have is it is a full-time job trying to sell a business. Like you're fielding customers and potential customers and trying to send out NDAs and get financial statements in and vet the buyers and put the package together. So
Mhm.
all that said, you still have a business to run. So
Mhm.
that is not the time to take your eye off the ball. You got to keep your eye on that ball of the business that you're trying to sell as if nothing is happening.
Mhm.
So can you really do both and do it well? Probably not.
Mhm.
That's two
Right.
full-time jobs, right? And that's one real answer that I have because it is a lot. And as with anything, not every buyer who's coming to inquire really wants to buy. Probably the bulk of them, they probably never will buy, just the reality of it. I do
Mhm.
think, um, as a quick tangent, because of the COVID climate, that's changed a bit. I feel like I've never had so many serious buyers at one time that
Wow.
are financially capable, they're ready. Now, if you will call it an issue, is trying to find them the right business to match up to, because now, in my opinion, it really is a buyer's market. But
Mhm.
that's been mitigated a bit. But yeah, it's a lot. And then also, we do all that we can to protect the confidentiality of that business being for sale. No customers know, no employees know, no vendors know. The 9 times out of 10, the landlord doesn't know until it's time for them to know. So again, just trying to move, I guess, all those parts around and keep them moving. And that's sort of what segues into the buy side. There are a lot of moving parts, as I'm sure you can speak to too, when it comes to a business transaction. And it's not to take away from like a home buying process. There's moving parts there too. The difference
Mhm.
is in a business transaction, that buyer is subject to satisfactory due diligence. So there is no
Mhm.
hard contract when you think about it, you know, from the start. It isn't. It's still in flex until the buyer decides that they're satisfied and want to proceed to closing. But then you have all these other hurdles, I guess you'll call them, right? Like, what if you get through that and then you got to go deal with the landlord? And the landlord says, no, I've had that happen. That deal is no longer because you just can't get the lease assignment, or you can get through due diligence and then the bank says they can't fund it. So there's just all these moving parts. And so to be able to keep track of all of that, again, like at least you have someone to,
Mhm.
in some capacities, function like your assistant, right? Because I'm always sending out reminders, hey, don't forget this, and we've got this deadline. So those are real advantages in my eyes, and not just because I do this for a living, but it is an advantage because you have someone to really defer to and walk you from start to finish through the process. And I think that's important.
Mhm.